I changed to a new microphone, so let me know how is the sound quality this time around. Are there any improvements? But now let's get into the video, and this time we will be ranking the gunner class and how they perform in battle. So without further ado, basically here are the tiers, right? They're usually self-explanatory pretty much, and one thing that I want to mention, for example, if I put, I don't know, Prowl, let's say, in the second slot, and maybe, I don't know, Cliff Jumper in the first slot, I do not mean that one is better than the other. I am merely ranking them, giving them a tier, but not ranking them inside a tier, because those gunners, they still do different things, so it really depends on what do you actually need them to do. Okay, now, let's go with Cliff Jumper and Kickback first, and after going to a Pleasure Work tier. The reason why is that their ability has really good potential. On paper, this ability could be incredible, but the problem is the ability is a bit when you shoot it out, sometimes it shoots out rockets that affect 3 targets, sometimes they affect 4 targets, sometimes 5, sometimes 2 targets, you do not know. And the way that ability would be much better if it would be coded like the first part of Gears and Quake, where they shoot out their glass cast missile, which affects targets in a certain area, and not exactly, the way Cliff Jumper and Kickback work currently. So that would be a much more needed upgrade, and of course they would need a 5-star, and to see how it goes from there. But overall they have a lot of potential, it just needs to be polished out. Now, let's go with the Blue Streak and Wild Rider. Yeah, absolutely a meta bot. Now, they can one-shot targets from far away. They can decrease health of those targets, which can be absolutely incredible. It can make some other bots who are not able to, let's say, one-shot with their ability immediately. It can make them one-shot because of that health reduction. Their ability ramps up in terms of power with each subsequent use, up to 2 times. Overall, they are very incredible bots with a lot of utility, and by default they stand at extra long range, which means you can completely give them a very useful companion combat like Trip Up and Roller Force and SB Optimus and SB Megatron, combats that will boost squad power. Because they don't really need a gun. They can use a gun, absolutely. They're very flexible in terms of builds, but I won't get into their builds too much. But overall, very flexible bot that can do plenty of things. Now, let's see. Let's go with Dust Up and Vortex. She's going into the borderline tier. 1 out of 5. She needs a 5-star and she needs a bit of love from the developers. I do not think she needs a full-blown rework. I think just a buff would suffice, because the deal with her is she has low-cost stability that affects a very large area for very little damage. Now, she would definitely need a significant damage increase and perhaps a small area decrease to kind of balance it out, so she can actually do something fair. She has some, usability early on, especially with her G1 core, which sets targets on fire. And in addition, she can be paired up with quite a decent amount of combats to pair with that fire. For example, Nightstick and Fracas, Cosmic Rust, Blaster, Trenchfoot and Caliburst. There are ways that she can work with, but otherwise they need a bit more power. Now let's go with Smokescreen and Breakneck, one of my personal favorites, and they have amazing utility. Again, they're extremely flexible, similarly to Blue Streak and Wild Rider, even though they are very different. People mix them up often, but their ability is actually very different in terms of what they actually do. Now, Smokescreen and Breakneck, they have the execute part of the ability. Basically, when targets are under a certain number of HP, they can straight up one-shot them. Now, this does not work if targets are shielded, and I have raised that issue with the developers. I did not get a response. I did not get any clear response if they will be attending to that, because it's they do not work as intended, right? If it says execute and they don't execute, I think it's a full advertising of the product. So I think that it needs to be attended to in some way. But currently, they're pretty solid. At ability level 11, they give Glass Gas in an area, which can further increase the damage. Their ability range is extremely huge, so they can combo with other bots like Aerial and Slipstream, Brainstorm and Skyhawk for some destruction from far away. Very useful bots. They can pick up a lot of different builds, anything from varying prime cores to their own G1 core. They are all really amazing, and if you wish to learn more, I do have a video on them as well. Now, let me see. Now let's go with Prowl and Brawl, and they're going into the useful tier. Now, they can do some fair damage in an area for a reasonable cost, but they're a bit held back by the power creep. Time really gets to them, and I think they just need a damage buff. A damage buff would definitely bump them up significantly, but otherwise they are a bit, a bit vanilla and a bit dated in regards to that. Let's go with Jazz and Mixmaster, another type of bot that is pretty dated, but this one is a bit more dated. Now, luckily they're going to get a bit more attention from the developers in the upcoming balance patch, because currently they do not do enough damage to justify their extremely high cost of 9+2. Another problem is their ability has a really long launch time. Basically, he shoots out a flare, which travels really slowly, super slow motion, and then once it lands, it also takes like a second before the ability actually strikes the ground. So yeah, not quite good in practice. He can work until like maybe Platinum League, something like that, but later on he's not gonna one-shot anything, and his ability is absurdly expensive. So yeah, I'm glad that he's absolutely gonna get some attention from the developers, because he needs it. Now let's get with a bit of a more powerful pick, and this time let's go with Warpath and Skull Smasher. Absolute meta bots, definitely. They can currently destroy buildings from extremely far away, line them up. They can destroy build bots, cripple buildings, destroy shields and clusters with repeated uses. Given that you take care of the healing, they can damage titans if they are shot in the path of the titan, which will give your own titan a lot more advantage, and I think they will have a lot more use now with the 5-star titans coming around to kind of bridge the gap if you have the 4-star titan. So yeah, very incredible bots, a lot of flexibility with them. Yeah, really incredible. Even 4-star is really good with this one. Now let's go with Rotorstorm and Spinnerstar. They are meta-ish, definitely 4 out of 5. They have some usability. They are pretty fairly decent at bottom-loaded bases, so they can kind of soften up the bottom parts. For example, to take out the spider mines, mortars, some problematic things like that. They definitely have some uses, and they can be very flexible in terms of builds as well. You don't really they have a lot of potential, right? So yeah, they're pretty nice. And now let's go with Gears and Quake, and they're absolutely meta. First things first, the way that their ability works, it's they deploy a missile which affects targets in a glass gas. It's a pretty large area, and it's for 10 seconds, so other bots will do a significantly greater amount of damage. On top of it, he will turn into his alternate mode and shoot those targets down. Now this is a nice amount of damage, but nothing too out of this world, but it's very nice. Especially glass gas in a huge area has a lot of uses. Again, it can make bots one shot, bots that you usually wouldn't. And of course, it's very flexible in terms of builds. Again, you can check it on my channel. I have multiple builds, one that focuses on his alt mode, basically on his ability, another that focuses on more passive damage, because he is a great support bot, not only damage bot, but he can really support your squad damage significantly. Let's go now with Roll and Sea Phantom. Going into meta-ish tier with this one round. The reason why is their first ability is damage over time. The rockets have been changed from instant damage to damage over time for whatever reason. But their other ability, however, the acid spewing, they shoot out an acid in a cone forward area, and this one is pretty decent, can be used for pathing purposes to take down something like a spider mines, weaker buildings. It has some utility. Can be used to spray acid for your firebots to do more damage. However, with you have to consider that antidote cores are extremely popular, which block healing and acid damage, so if they wouldn't be so popular, they could absolutely be in the meta tier, but this way you have to pretty much take out an entire core for them to have their true power unlocked. So yeah. Now let's go with the Alpha Bravo and Long Haul, going into the same tier as Prowl and Brawl. Yeah, again, they are useful and pretty much same thing as then they are nearly a copy paste. Really solid, and again, they just need a damage increase and for their ability to really shine. Now let's go with Mirage and Breakdown. Situational. They will get buffed. In the balance patch, looks very promising, and absolutely I can see them bumped up tier or even 2. But currently, stunning is a bit borderline useful. They just need more, you know. They have potential. The idea is good. They just need more, and luckily they will get more from the upcoming balance patch. Now let's see. Sunstreaker and Swindle, absolutely going to put them in the situational tier as well. Here's the reason. First off, their ability is really expensive, of being 7+2. Second reason is that they do fire damage, which can be useful. However, current meta is flooded with fireproof cores. 2, often 3 fireproof cores which shut down fire damage, so you have to take out those cores for him to actually do some decent damage. Third, it is damage over time. And fourth, area is really not that great. The area that he affects is really not justified. And again, actually, to justify my third point, people may not understand why is damage over time bad. Well, it's not inherently bad. The problem is that it can be healed through with popular healing like Micronus Prime Core, Alchemist Prime Core, etc. So it really relies that you shut down the healing for it to shine. Overall, design has some flaws, and based on what I heard, they will also be attending to them as well in the upcoming balance patch, because this bot doesn't need too much to be really functional. It needs damage increase, ability cost adjustment, you know, make it instant damage, and overall, you know, there is absolutely a lot of potential with it. There are some simple fixes that can make this bot shine. Now let's go with the Secret Gun and Trigger Happy. Going to the meta tier with them as well. They can do a lot of damage. Yes, they have a really high cost of 8+2, but they will destroy at least 4 buildings. And if you pair them with some damage increase bot like Inferno and Rodimus Unicronus, paired with something like Crazed Essence passive from Arc and Nemesis Titans, they can even nuke shield gen clusters with a single ability cast. Especially if you apply something like Glass Gas from Smokescreen, they can do it. You can reach insanely high numbers if you know what you're doing. However, yeah, the cost is really high, and this is why a lot of people feel uncomfortable using these bots. But if you can use them, if you know how you can really gain the most out of them and really combo them to get the most, you can do some incredible things, you know, some incredible destruction. Let's go with now Hound and Dragstrip. Yeah, definitely going into the situational tier as well. They do extra damage to resource buildings, and why? Just why? It's unnecessary. Resource buildings are really not gonna punch you back, you know. I think it doesn't make sense why, you know. Just why? Yeah, I hope they really look into them as well, because prioritizing resource buildings that do nothing over the defenses that can kill you makes no sense, and definitely not gonna work in the current meta game. Now let's go to the Sea Spray and Octopunch. Meta, definitely, extremely high damage. It's nearly instant damage, you know, it's more like a burst damage. That would be more accurate term, because it's not quite damage over time, but it's not quite instant damage. It's basically multiple hits that are in a really short period of time, and yeah, it can really do huge damage, huge range, fair ability cost, very solid gunners with very flexible builds. They can also use Amalgamous Prime Core, which is a huge buff, because it helps them with survivability, especially on bottom-loaded bases where you can just deploy this bot alone, and it can soften up a very good chunk of the kill zone in the bottom. Really incredible bot overall, and absolute classic, you know, an old school bot that is still perfect, you know, for the current meta game. That's a really good design. And now let's go last with Skids and Knockout, also in the meta tier. They can do a lot of area damage, especially Acid, which shuts down healing. Area is huge. They do extra damage to bots and combiners. They can also do extra damage to walls. Very good ability, very good core, which also gives them healing. It increases their damage very nicely. And they have a lot of combos to work with, you know, with fire, with rust. overall they are very incredible and very powerful with a lot of potential. Again, antidote cores kind of yeah, something that you should look out for, but he's really strong and absolutely worth using in that regard. You know, again, for bottom loaded bases especially, he can do some extremely heavy damage, and if you take out the antidote cores, he can even be extremely solid on the shielding cluster to block healing from Micronus and really let your bots, you know, take it out. Now this is pretty much going to be it for this video. I hope you found this helpful, and if you have any questions, feel free to let me know down in the comments, and I'm gonna be seeing you in the next one.